Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. My name is Ezra, and I'm joined by Sawyer, Ahmad, and Caleb.
Howdy, howdy.
This is, what time is it? 10:19. It is 10:19, Friday, October 4th, in the evening, not in the morning.
Yeah. I'm not going to be up in time for that.
It's literally... It's 7 a.m.
When this goes up, it probably will be.
And we just got back from seeing Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, distributed by Warner Brothers Entertainment.
Bradley Cooper, producer, or one of the producers.
I think
Was he a producer?
Yeah.
He produced the film.
Is that right? I did not know that.
So,
The
we
voice
should
of Rocket Raccoon.
address that this is not episode 30, this is the Joker
Yes,
special.
this is...
We'll be talking for roughly 1 hour about
Yes.
the film, and to make up for it, next week will be a episode without a major discussion. It'll just be all topics and
All topics, all news,
Yeah.
all the time.
Also, keep
So-
in mind, this is literally, we just got back from the film,
Yes.
so this is going to be our fresh kind of opinions.
Yes.
I haven't really had much time to think about it in any kind of way, but I guess
is our thoughts just coming out of the movie.
Right.
We're
yeah.
all still
Yeah.
processing and still digesting.
unbiased
Yes.
kind of.
Also, this won't be the most professional episode because we have
Food.
roommates and we have food.
Uh-huh.
So
Lots of food.
yeah.
Sawyer,
got hungry afterwards.
Sawyer is peddling a pretty hard Gushers ring around
Yeah.
here. So I couldn't turn those down.
It's the peak college boy episode.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
most college boy it will ever get
Yeah.
on the Lab Rats.
I wouldn't totally guarantee that.
No, we're all slowly progressing until eventually we graduate college. So then
and then
won't
we
be
have to
college
recover.
boys
We have to recover.
Recovery.
So with that, let's go around the room. Ahmad, I'll start with you. Give me a paragraph of like
4
just
sentences.
just like not limited to, but just give me like initial things you want to say about it.
Yeah.
Also, spoilers for
Yes,
Joker.
full spoilers.
Full spoilers.
Sorry,
Yeah.
forgot about that.
So I'm going to start off on more of a technical note. I think visually it looks amazing. I loved how it was shot. It was just the use of multiple color temperatures in most of the shots, especially the interior shots, where it's just like you have this kind of cool moonlight coming in, and you also have this interior like motivation of like a lamp or something. So like I just love the visual look of the film, the visual style, and I think that lent itself nicely. There were some interesting during some scenes that weren't really that how should I don't that weren't good. It looked well like what
I like how you had to think about it.
well, like it was just I guess what I mean is just like some of the scenes that were a little bit more serious or had not the content that was going on wasn't like
Okay.
like it was
Yeah.
bad. It was some
Something's bad.
Yeah,
is
I didn't mean
happening.
I didn't mean
Yeah.
the movie wasn't good or like the scene wasn't good, but like something bad was going on in the scene.
Yeah.
The shots look beautiful, which I think was an interesting contrast. Where it's just like
Interesting.
typically you wouldn't want to make a
Right.
something where a scene where something horrific is going on. You don't want to make that look beautiful, with some lens flares and like music and stuff. It's the
Bright and
soundtrack.
sunny and everything else.
Yeah, right. And specifically there's a shot where he like after he I don't know if we're going into
We're
spoilers.
doing
We are.
full
Full
spoilers.
spoilers.
Okay, so the scene where he
You can go.
suffocates his mother.
Yeah.
So he suffocates his mother
Yeah.
with a pillow near the end of the film.
And it's very like bright.
It's very bright, beautiful. There's a lot of lens flares, and at the
Yeah.
end, after he does it, he kind of stands in the sunshine and like bathes
Yeah.
in like this
It's
light.
kind of like a weird sort of hero moment,
Right,
Even
right.
though it's not.
Right.
I mean,
it's a very bad thing to do.
Yeah.
Similar to like when they did like how everybody says, "Oh, Infinity War is Thanos' hero journey."
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is for Joker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of. Except
Kinda.
not.
I mean, it's not a typical hero's journey,
not
but
not
like,
as but not it very differently because it's happening in a very different context.
yeah. Like I mean,
Exactly.
like Thanos' whole thing was like, oh,
Yeah.
he views himself as the hero. This one, Joker doesn't view himself as a hero. He just views himself as
He's just trying to figure out who he is.
He's a force of nature, really,
Yeah.
is what he is. Like he,
Yeah.
I mean, he says it best. He's like, I don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
He's like, that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah, continue. I didn't mean to cut off.
I
your
know
whole
you're
thing
good.
there.
I was gonna say there. Yeah, so like that was an interesting aspect to it. I think another one we're probably all going to talk about a little bit,
Yeah.
but his acting. I mean, like that was
Yeah.
that was like I think that was one of his best performances for me. and I
you're
think,
and you're kind of a Joaquin Phoenix
Yeah.
fan.
right, I am. I am,
agree.
and like sadly, I think that although his performance was in many ways groundbreaking and like very riveting, I think that sometimes the story didn't lend itself as nicely to that. I think there were some points where it was I wish they had, like, his performance definitely uplifted a lot of moments that otherwise wouldn't have been the same without his
I
acting.
agree. I
Without
wholeheartedly agree
without
with
his,
that.
so like if it was any other actor, I guess, I mean, obviously it wouldn't have been the same, but he definitely there were some moments where I'm just like, this probably wouldn't have worked as better. It probably would have been like not as good without without what he added to this to the scene.
Yeah.
But very small stuff, like little small like ways that he would kind of carry himself about. Like one of the most, I want to talk about the ending real fast.
Yeah.
How frustrated, like the sheer amount of frustration in his eyes, you could see the fact that
While he's in the hospital, you're talking.
no, actually, I guess I should. This is a spoiler review, so I don't know if I should really explain it, all of it, but like it is. So it's at the end when he gets on the show, when he gets on Murray's show.
When he's on Robert De Niro's
when he's on Robert De
comedy
Niro's show,
late night
and
show.
he's sitting, he's sitting next to him, he gets introduced and whatever, and then Robert De Niro, like, he keeps kind of like getting, like, knifing him with these like these comments and like and like you could see like you could see his face like increasingly get more frustrated and angry, and like I just thought that was
Phoenix's face is getting more
right.
frustrated.
His Phoenix, but Phoenix's face is getting a little bit more like frustrated, and like you could see that he's like this pent up anger is gonna explode, and it was insane. Like what happens when he does explode is unexpected, but I mean. Really is.
We can say it. He kills Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
He shoots Robert De Niro
Point blank in the face.
In the
like,
face.
It's brutal.
on live television. And yeah,
It's pretty crazy.
I gotta
is
say
crazy.
that probably is my favorite moment of the film.
Yeah.
It's when he fully becomes Joker.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when he.
Like-
Well,
I do think it happens beforehand, but like in terms of like embracing it.
yeah, he
Yeah.
embodies the
Yeah.
character at that moment of
Yeah.
what we know of the Joker. He's very like he's got that maniacal, like he's in it for the
He's in
the
it kind of for
twisted
the
joke.
chaos. At that point,
the chaos.
Another scene I want to comment on is we talked about this on the car ride over, but the scene beforehand where he's getting prepared and the two workers come in.
Oh,
and he
yeah,
has
yeah,
the
yeah.
face. He has like the white paint on his face, and
Yeah.
when he actually kills one the worker
the bigger
worker who framed him. I think that's what happened. He's
Yeah.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
He's
sort
the
of
one
like
who gave him the gun.
Go ahead.
That was
And then, like
intense.
later on,
Yeah.
he was like, he tried to shoot, but like this, just like his facial expressions, it made me so uneasy, and it made me so horrified. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to expect, and like.
I mean, for me, I think that like that was the most sort of Joker-like scene for me because
That
like,
scene made me kind of made me think this might compete against Heath Ledger's Joker. Like
I have some feelings about that.
All right,
but I think
it's better than Jared Leto.
It's better than
Jared Leto's Joker.
I do have to say, I do feel bad for Jared Leto
Yeah.
for two reasons. One, because he got stuck in between Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix. Like, he's forever going to be the one that gets forgotten in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Secondly, I think he was going for a very specific portrayal, and I think the movie he was in was just
didn't
bad.
necessarily
Yeah.
suit
Also,
that.
most of his material was cut from that movie anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So I refrain judgment on Jared Leto for the most part.
Yeah.
Until we see him again.
Until we see-
theoretically we're seeing him
I
again.
mean,
Yeah.
potentially, depending on how Birds of Prey does.
Well, actually, I think he's in Birds of Prey. If I had to guess, he's in Birds of Prey.
Probably.
As a
but-
moment. I'm not saying like he's like
It'd be like a
character.
flashback or something.
It'll be
Yeah.
a flashback or a quick like ending type
Yeah.
of cliffhanger.
Especially because it's like a Harley Quinn movie.
Exactly.
I'll also
you know,
bet you that Robert Pattinson pops up at some point.
Well, yeah,
That'd be pretty cool actually.
Yeah.
But and
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jared Leto's a good actor, but it's just sad that he got stuck with a bad script. But I was gonna say, going off of that, a lot of like, as I was watching the film, it seemed like as he was writing the script, he just went through like Scorsese's filmography and just watched every film he made, and like his based his, so specifically, I mean, obviously the two biggest things that people are going to compare compare this film to from Scorsese's filmography, Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Those are the two films that are obvious. Another one I thought was just like, this is straight out of Goodfellas. The scene where he's in the comedy club writing the notes, just the way the lamps looked, that looked like it was the scene from Goodfellas where he takes takes his date out to like the with the famous one take scene where he takes her to the nightclub.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah.
But like it looked very similar, and I just like the visual style. Like kind of I drew some comparisons.
It kind of a lot of the aesthetic kind of reminded me of Mean Streets.
And also Mean Streets. It's a good it's like very kind of, it was very like these like I love their depiction of Gotham. That's another good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gotham
as a grotesque,
probably
trashed
like
in this movie.
Best iteration of Gotham.
Yeah, and grimy, like the piles of trash. Just like there was a one shot where they're like eating in the diner, and like this mountain of trash bags. It's just like I thought that was just, they did a really fantastic job with that.
I think personally, in live action, I think this is the best Gotham portrayal, because in the Dark Knight trilogy, it's just Chicago.
It's more and more Chicago as the movies progress too.
Right.
Whereas I do like Tim Burton's one, but it's also very Tim Burton.
Yeah,
like
it's very stylized.
And I think a lot of this was aided by the time that this film was set in the 1970s.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I don't like, you know, like I think of this as like, you know, like New York in the 1970s, where Taxi Driver, like the streets are like they're just dirty, trashed, like they're just grotesque, and like it's not good, you know, like it doesn't look good. It just, the feeling like you feel like something bad's about to happen at every corner.
And kudos to the production team and the writing team for making that an important part of this film, because you could have easily skated over that.
Right.
We've seen that in other Batman films.
Right. Yeah.
But Gotham was an integral, I would say, character to this.
Yeah.
Right.
To this.
That's a good
I have to say that the subtlety, I guess at some points it's not as subtle, but just having those like either news broadcasts or radio broadcasts where they basically say like about the rats and the trash piling up is kind of like an underlying, I don't even want to say motif.
No, that's
like it just kind of
it builds the world.
It's showing Gotham as like this powder keg that's building and building,
it's
and it's ready to blow.
Right. Yeah, and I liked that they kind of used that as like a parallel to how far deep Joker's insanity starts running.
Right. And Sora just mentioned a really good point, because like throughout the entire film, they found ways of like implementing exposition as to where the city is, without explicitly stating like, hey, like Gotham's in
bad shape. Montage like they did at the beginning of Justice League, where it's like things are bad.
Yeah, things are bad. Like you would see like, you know,
slow motion Zack Snyder effects.
But you would see
part in the movie where it's Zack Snyder.
No, you're right. He is right.
Caleb has feelings.
do you want to just like maybe take a side note? Or not just like we could go
soapbox about Justice League.
I'll go on for 45 minutes.
Just plot twist, but like it's just
plot twist. This is not about Joker. It's about Justice League.
Justice League.
Turns out.
Yeah, turns out we're flashing back 2 years talking about Justice League. Okay, continue.
But no, it would be you know, like some examples, you know, newspapers. You would kind of see like, you know, you would see examples of how, I think they mentioned like how people want like the rich should go down, or like there's like these kind of like this imagery of like, I like, that's another good point, I guess, is a contrast between like lower income, lower status like people, contrasted to like when you would go to like Thomas Wayne's house. That kind of made me
super like glamorous.
That kind of made me a little disgusted, and like that kind of made me sympathize with Joker's character a little more. Where I'm just
Speaking
like,
of, we get the laughs here too.
Yeah, I was like, is that Joker? Like, what's going? Like, it's
kind of creeped out.
So
right?
Wait, okay. Speaking of that, there was somebody in the theater who laughed at the end, like the Joker.
I know. I heard that too.
I was like, oh, is this it?
Well, I was wondering if that was coming from the screen.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was.
I couldn't tell if it was like part of the credits.
That's why I was like,
like that, but like I think the person's friend was like, she can't do like to stop.
I do have to say, when you brought up the Waynes and how you felt about them,
right?
I was surprised in this movie a great deal about how they treat the Waynes.
Right.
I was expecting them to be like, oh, they're good and like they're gonna put a stop to the Joker. The Waynes are treated as the bad guy.
Right.
The
Like,
Waynes are the bad guys.
Which is, you know, how it should, like if
which makes sense from a Joker perspective, but it's also saying to the audience, it's not just the Joker who views this. It's the Waynes basically being responsible for having all of this wealth and doing nothing.
It's very much sort of anti Nolan Thomas Wayne.
Right.
Like the way that they portray Thomas Wayne in the Nolan movies is like he's this sort of benevolent. He's in a lot of ways he was like a benevolent overlord who was just sort of like he controlled much of the city's function, but they liked him because he was doing things for them.
So he's Tony Stark.
He's like post Iron Man Tony Stark.
Okay.
Yeah. And like in this he's I mean you guys are right. He's an absolute jerk.
You despise him and like you get behind the Joker's.
But at the same time, I think he has a point. Once he touches Bruce Wayne, I think that kind of brings it out, and he's justified in that. Right. But the whole, hey, your mother's crazy, get out of here, I don't want anything to do with you thing, it makes him seem as like, even though he's putting on this image of, I care about the poor and those in Gotham who I'm trying to lift up, is really, once she has that confrontation with him in the bathroom at the gala, you realize it's just him trying to get elected as mayor. He doesn't actually care.
Right. He's not actually going to do it.
Granted, Bruce Wayne doesn't actually have a speaking line in the movie.
And that actually is what made me like kind of upset at Bruce Wayne's portrayal in this movie. It's not that it's not even that he doesn't say a line. He just doesn't do anything. He stays still the whole time.
He's incredibly passive.
And I get that for maybe the death of Wayne's parents.
Yeah.
Him staying still. It's kind of written in the
comic.
That's kind of the mythology.
I mean, it's the biggest piece of canon you have to stick with.
Right.
But I didn't understand why he didn't say anything or move anything at the gate scene.
Oh yeah, specifically when he sticks his fingers in his mouth.
Right.
You know, I was like, that was a little weird. I was just like, okay,
I was like, he's really just gonna stand there.
Yeah, just and like
also,
that's
never,
a good point.
Like the portrayal of, I'm assuming that was Alfred. They don't explicitly say it, but it has to be Alfred.
He was British. He's Alfred.
He's the British, and he's not Bruce Wayne's father. He's therefore Alfred.
Therefore Alfred.
I do, however, think it's interesting, and I don't know if this has probably been. You guys probably know about this a little more, but how I don't know if this was a thing. It may have, but I personally didn't know that. The route that they took, where Thomas is the father of.
Well, it's like allegedly.
So allegedly. So like, do we ever get a specific answer, or like, is there like
no?
Is there like
in the comics? There's. I mean, in terms
I don't
of the
think
comics,
there's ever a precedent for that.
Okay, so
there's one brief storyline I think in one comic run where they do a sort of backstory of Joker, but it's never been a hey, could Thomas Wayne be his father or anything.
And
it
wasn't that well received from what I heard from them.
Yeah, like Joker, except for this one comic run, I don't even remember what comic it was. It might have been The Killing Joke. I don't remember. Has never really been identified other than maybe a name. They've never said his backstory, where he comes from, nothing. Yeah. So this was. I want to do
this is definitely new territory.
I should specify for those of you who are going to see this movie but don't know a ton about comics, or just a lot of keeping up with film in general. The two big things you should know when seeing this: it is definitely not a kids movie.
No,
no.
Do not take your kids.
You should have known this after Deadpool and Logan, those two movies, but. This, even though it's DC brand, and you're like, oh, it's Joker, Batman, blah, blah, this is not a kids movie whatsoever.
No.
I know even some adults who may not want to see this. Because it is the most twisted movie I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
I should also say, do not go in expecting a comic book movie. Other than featuring the Waynes and Joker, and really the only thing it's got, the Waynes, Joker, and the death of the Waynes are the only comic points in the entire film.
It's really a Scorsese movie. Yeah, it's really like a Scorsese.
I mean, but that's the thing. He was attached to this one like
for a long time.
From what I've heard, he was even a part of the writing.
I think he was a producer. Right?
Yeah, he was a producer for sure. He was supposed to direct at one point, I think. Yeah. But he is a producer. But in the film, it's really. I was surprised by the portrayal of a lot of things in it, and there's really not much action in it aside from the chase in the subway towards the end and the attack in the subway towards the middle. There isn't much action.
It's not. It really isn't an action movie. It's sort of
more of a character study, really.
It's a drama thriller, I would say.
That's not to say it's not violent.
Oh, it is extremely violent. But when there is violence, it is violent.
It's violent.
Yeah. But
it's shocking.
But there's not stunt work.
There's no CGI as far as I know. There's no CGI.
Oh, there's CGI. You just didn't see any of it.
Well, like in terms of the overt, endgame level CGI.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's like.
I'm sure there's in every movie nowadays there's CGI, but in terms of that, like big CGI fight coming up, there's none of that.
Right.
And I didn't think at all in this point any kind of action was like an actual action set piece was needed.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't feel necessary.
It's not that type of film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's give Caleb a paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So
you can open your
this
gushes
movie.
of odds, okay?
Hey, you don't have to expose me like that.
Okay.
Now that Ahmad's doing it, I can do it.
During this podcast. This movie is a movie.
Let's put it on the box art. This movie is a movie.
And I kept saying that in the car ride.
Yeah. The capture in this movie, the biggest part of the Joker, and that's the Agent of Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And we see.
I kind of disagree with that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go. That's what I like to hear.
I'm going to let you finish, but I kind of disagree.
Okay, Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish.
I would say not necessarily that it is an agent of chaos. Like, he isn't an agent of chaos for most of this film. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it's about getting to that moment. And, it becomes this chaotic moment in the ending where just like it really sets up a lot of. I think I understood more in this movie than any other Batman movie why Batman needed to come.
Yeah. Like, he is essentially, from what I can see in the film, Joker kind of creates this world, and Batman is it's kind of almost a Star Wars thing. Darkness rises and light to meet it. Like, Batman is the counter to everything Joker is.
Batman is the new hope.
I think by the end, I definitely agree with you. I had that sensation. It's just like at the end where you see kind of Bruce just standing there with his parents on the ground. You're just like, I felt there was that, although the film is very, it's very sad in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's not uplifting, but I just wanted, like, seeing Bruce standing there, I kind of just kind of gave me a little hope, because like he's gonna rise, and
it's kind of about Bruce's role is kind of like about the legend of the Batman. It's definitely not a Batman movie.
Right.
No. But it's sort of like it gives rise to the myth.
But even with the Christopher Nolan films, like the Joker is just somebody who almost just appears.
He kind of just comes along.
Comes along, and he kind of brings along his ideology and stuff. But with this film, it's just a very different feeling, where it's just I've been with this character, we've seen him through his life and stuff, and now I feel like I'm a little bit more sympathetic towards him, but I'm also just I want him to come.
It's one of those things where you understand how he got there, and you feel bad that it happened, but there's a point. And I would argue it's once he kills the 3 guys on the subway is when he becomes too far gone.
Interesting.
Possibly, I can argue maybe once he kills his mother.
Yeah, I think it's really... Wait, does he kill his mother before or after he talks to Thomas Wayne in the bathroom?
After,
because that's where he finds out about his mother lying.
Yeah, I think it's then I think it's when he kills his mom, because I think that scene in the bathroom with Thomas Wayne, it still feels like. Yeah. I felt for him during that scene, I
felt for him at the end, when Robert De Niro was just completely mocking him, it just
You understand that that's basically him saying, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Which, it's interesting that, I should specify at least from my opinion, I don't want to, take over Caleb's paragraph here. But this film, I've seen a lot of people online saying it's going to endorse certain cultures on the internet.
Right.
And it doesn't do that. Yeah. And we're not going to go into all of that. Yeah. But I should say this film... It addresses certain issues. It doesn't take a side.
It's not promoting.
Hey, it's not promoting saying, hey, you should go out and commit acts of violence. Right. But it's saying, these are problems we need to address before they get to the point that Joker ends up at the end of this movie.
Right.
And they address how this is happening by saying, the city's cutting our funding. We can no longer give you your medication. We can no longer keep seeing you. You're gonna just be tossed out on the street. There's no money for you to get a better place.
Right, and I love that scene because it almost makes the he almost makes the I don't know, like the counselor, therapist, the doctor that he's with, like it almost villainizes her, but she's like, they hate me just as much as like
it is a
that
compounding.
Was a very important line.
It is a compounding problem that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until Joker appears.
They address it kind of as saying that like Joker there's societal factors that kind of push him to where he is, but ultimately he has to make his own decision. And that's where it becomes less of a case of society made him this way in terms of him choosing to do
It's kind of like, I think it's kind of like balanced in the sense of like what they kind of say is like, if society keeps doing this more and more, what will happen is eventually somebody will make that choice to, become the quote unquote the Joker. Whatever that means in 2019.
Yeah, it's kind of an idea of there's no, like, it's not entirely society's fault, but it can create environments where this can happen.
Yeah.
And in order to, I guess, address it, you can't fully blame it on either side. You have to address how both are partially responsible. But ultimately, even if there are societal factors, they didn't put the gun in Joker's hand and say, "Hey, do this." He ultimately made that decision.
Yeah. Caleb, do you have anything?
Yeah,
else
I didn't mean to.
Do you have any other thing you want to add to your paragraph?
I will say that this was not my favorite movie.
I do agree with that.
It was. I think it's a good movie. I think there's I have a lot of problems with the film. Particularly, my least favorite part is actually when he kills his mother. I don't think the film gives enough justification for that because it's a quick character turn.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's a reversal. I mean,
it is.
But yet. Oh, there was one other moment. But my favorite part of this film is towards the third act. It's really the second act that really
shifts things out.
Yeah. The film the film kind of finds its identity in the second act, I think. Yeah. The first act, I had an issue with the first act. It felt like a collection of scenes. It didn't feel like a movie.
It was kind of a collection of Joker getting beat down by society.
Yeah, which is like I didn't like that because it was more of like a plight for us to feel sympathetic for Joker. I feel like specifically like starting off the film right away.
With him getting kicked by some teenagers
and that is a horrible thing, but I'm just like, this is just a way for them to make us sympathetic.
Yeah.
I did, however, feel sympathetic for him on the. Okay, I have to on the train when he does get beat and stuff, but obviously he goes ahead and kills the three people. But I thought it was really interesting.
You can argue the first two guys he kills in self-defense.
Yeah.
Then the next guy who's actually running away, he actually just decides to kill him.
And I think
it's not just bang, you're done. It's multiple
bang,
unloading the entire
which
thing.
I have issues with as well, but
I think that's more of a Joker type move.
Yeah,
it is. It's his first step into Joker.
Right. Yeah. But I was gonna say I really liked how they had the laughing symptom and the card for it. I liked the card.
I like the card.
The card, yeah.
I think the laughing symptom is. I don't know.
Here's the thing that. I'm actually going to disagree with you on that.
It's
that's
okay.
Another part I don't like of the film is the fact that with most and actually they kind of make up for it in the end, but with most iterations, if not all iterations of the Joker, the reason why he laughs is because he thinks everything's a joke now.
Or there's an ideological reason behind it.
Right. Yeah.
The Heath Ledger Joker laughs because of he laughs because none of it matters anymore.
Exactly. And I think that's what they were going for because at the end of the film he says a line where he's like,
you wouldn't get it or something.
No. Before that, he's like, I used to think that my laughing was a problem, but now I see why.
Oh, I see.
I think it's Now I See Why
Yeah.
or something like that of that line.
Yeah.
And I think that makes up for, meaning like it's kind of, but also at the same time it's like what are you going like? It
Yeah.
seems like you're 360ing the
I thought
type of symptoms he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was impactful in scenes where, like, the stuff that was happening within the scene is extremely messed up and stuff. But he, like, I thought it was interesting and almost made me a little like sympathetic for him. You know, the messed up stuff happening to him or happening around him, and he laughs. But
So my issue is I think that they were trying to communicate that they didn't communicate was that what the condition actually is that whenever he feels a strong negative emotion he laughs. Like I think that like that's the what they were going for, but I don't think they communicated that well. And I think my problem with it after that is like it felt like it was just a thing that the writers used to like
Excuse the laugh.
well, not just to excuse the laugh, but it felt inserted into certain like it felt unnatural. Like it felt like somebody with that condition would laugh, you know, at any in every scene of the movie, but he doesn't laugh in every scene of the movie.
It's only the important plot.
Yeah,
scenes
it's
that he
yeah,
laughs.
and it seemed to me like the laugh was a good idea, but it felt contrived sometimes.
Well, I think as a storytelling standpoint, I think the writers were, or maybe it was the director, was too nervous that the audience might think that this isn't going to be Joker, like meaning they had to remind us that he's Joker, so we have to throw in a laugh here. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that.
yeah,
You know.
I do, but like I guess
Sawyer gets a
Wait,
paragraph.
Martin, go ahead.
I was gonna say like I guess to the point that I was trying to make was a lot of it was very ironic, where it's just like you know, the bad stuff going on with him, and he laughs, you know, just because like it's something that he can't control. It's more of like a like medical condition that he has, but it was a lot of the stuff was a little forced. Or like a lot of the laughs were inserted.
Phoenix sells it. I'm
Like,
not here to tell you
his
that
laugh
Phoenix
was
didn't sell
really
it.
good.
But you know, I just felt like in the moment sometimes it felt a little contrived.
Yeah.
I will say,
Anyway.
first thing I gotta say during my paragraph is that I called it. I knew this movie was gonna end with the Waynes getting killed. I didn't know for sure it was going to be.
Listen to the tapes.
Yes, I didn't know for sure if it was going to be Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. But I knew they were gonna get killed in the end.
Yes.
And they did.
By a Joker minion, no less. You
I
predicted
thought
that
it
too,
was
yeah.
Well, you know.
I think it also works better that it wasn't Joker. It being just somebody that he inspired.
I agree.
Works better.
Even though they were like teasing it throughout the entire film with like him and his interactions with Thomas and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I liked that a lot.
I enjoyed it. I thought it's not perfect. I think you can't view this film as a DC film.
No.
If you are looking for, I still think in terms of comic book adaptation on screen of Joker, I think Heath Ledger does it best in terms of modern portrayals. If you're looking for the classical kind of
It's like
comic Joker,
it's like Mark Hamill versus
it's Mark Hamill's
versus
one.
like Jack Nicholson.
If you're looking for modern, I guess post 2000 Joker,
Yeah.
the best interpretation is Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is a very
different.
interesting portrayal, but I can't say it's the perfect adaptation of Joker.
Yeah.
It's very much his interpretation of that idea.
Yeah.
It's the idea of the Joker character, and not necessarily we are using the Joker character in this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they do a lot of alterations to him.
I have to say, we haven't
Especially
addressed this
giving him a
yet.
name.
The sound,
Yeah.
the sound design is great. in this movie. Like
soundtrack.
the soundtrack too. Like I picked up on it at first when they have the scene at the end when he's talking to Murray on the show.
Yeah.
There's this like low song or like score playing below the conversation,
Yeah.
and as Joker's getting more and more infuriated, you can hear the score start to build as it's getting more and more uneasy.
That was really.
It felt very Hans Zimmer, except
Not
he wasn't
intrusive.
him. And I was very shocked because I was so sure watching the movie, like this this is a Hans Zimmer score, and obviously it's to honor probably the Dark Knight score, but because you hear a lot of that.
Yeah, you hear a lot of that like Dark Knight.
Right. And the use of tension of like the particular moment I think of in the Dark Knight is when Joker is over Harvey Dent in the hospital scene. You know, that type of tension is used in that moment of in that interview scene. I'm a nerd. I'm a sucker for the scores. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So I really like the score in this film.
And also had like more of like a sorrowful kind of like violin kind of.
Right.
That was a sad score. Yeah, I don't disagree.
If Joaquin Phoenix gets nominated for an Oscar, and I should specify, I don't care about the Oscars anymore. I don't care, but if the only way they can get me to care again is if they nominate Joaquin Phoenix, and if they do, his like video they play of a scene from the movie he's being nominated for should be this scene. Arguably either that agree. Or when the scene we previously mentioned after he kills the guy in his apartment and he's just like bent over there. Because I think
it's one of those two scenes. Those are
that's the scene
probably the two best.
In terms of viewing Joker as in this movie as slowly becoming unhinged into the character he will become, Joaquin Phoenix nails it.
Yeah.
If you're I should just specify extremely. Do not go in expecting a successor to Heath Ledger because that's not what you're going to get.
No.
Heath Ledger was great, but it's a very, I'd say similar yet very different portrayal.
It's a much darker portrayal, which is something that I didn't expect.
Which is also weird that like you could, Heath Ledger's Joker. Yeah, I know it was meant to be in the Nolanverse, which was meant to basically be real life.
Right.
Yeah.
This one almost feels like you could turn on the news and see it happen today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas in The Dark Knight, it's possible, but at the same time, he's wearing the bright purple. He's, being as crazy and as menacing as he can be.
It's more of like a transplanting the idea of the Joker onto real life, whereas this is like a natural occurrence.
Like Heath Ledger's Joker was, I'm going to try and be as menacing and unnerving as possible, and it was coming across that way. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was, he's not trying to, yet he is coming across as like he's.
And then eventually at the end he embraces.
He decides to like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do it. And I think the dialogue that in the scene that best describes it is in that Murray scene where he's like, "Is this part of your ideology? Is this what you believe in?" He says, "I don't believe in anything. And that perfectly describes him. He's not part of the protest. He's not endorsing anything. He just does it because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's got nothing else to lose.
Yeah, and then eventually the protesters sort of start praising him as kind of like a god.
And he finally gets that attention that he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that's symbolic of what the film is saying. It's saying, do not ignore these people, or else when they finally find attention, it's not going to be the kind of attention that they should be getting.
Yeah.
Like, if... I think it's kind of, if we're going back to the online forum thing, if we should not be ignoring these people because when they finally find attention, it's going to be, for example, on these online forums where they're just going to be throwing fuel on the fire and then eventually...
Just compounding the frustration.
The internet echo chamber that's just going to constantly be there.
It's just going to keep... It's going to build up until it explodes. And you see it explode at the end of this movie.
And one of the things this film does that obviously no other Batman film could ever do is it's localized. Mm-hmm. It's a very, I would say not necessarily, I would say it's more of a small environment. Like you're only at very few places.
Yeah, you don't see very many different locations in this movie.
Yeah, it's after one, Joker's after one specific thing. Mm-hmm. He's not after a whole city, even though that kind of is what the result of it. It's more of the effect of it. But the tension is not lying on what's best to take over the city.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold Gotham ransom for $1 billion. Like it's
Let's pour some laughing gas all over the place. But it's the tension between the characters, and that's what I meant by localized. It's not necessarily
You mean it's like it's him just being in this general. He's not trying to take over the city or like.
There's no plan.
Yeah.
It's
just
sort of happening to him in a lot of instances.
Does he say that in the movie? He's like, "Do I look like the type of clown with a plan or something like that?" Does he say something like that?
No, he says that in The Dark Knight.
No, I know he says, like, do I like the kind of guy that has a plan, but there was something in this movie where he says, like...
I think I know what you're talking about, but
I think he makes a remark about, like, do I look like somebody who would organize...
Oh, yeah, it was about the protest earlier.
I think it's like he's talking to the detectives or something like that.
Yeah. No, it was when he was talking to the guy who gave him the gun in the locker room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you going to those protests? Or something like that.
Yeah.
I think one thing I do want to talk about real fast is just, like, something I think, like, I feel is, like tragic and, like, maybe, like, tragic irony kind of thing where it's just, like, that's in this film and also in The King of Comedy. Where it's somebody who is who wants to be successful doing the thing that they love, but because of how they're viewed by society or even like whatever the social norms are, they're outcast and they just don't fit in and things just don't work out. And I think that's definitely like a theme that hit home for me. Or like watching The King of Comedy. I don't think this film did it as well as that film for me. I don't know if like I should really be comparing them, but I definitely like see the similarities. But that kind of is just like an easy way to kind of get you to sympathize for the Joker because you understand that his intentions originally aren't to obviously to commit murders and stuff like that. He's just trying to be successful. He's trying to provide for his mother and stuff, but things don't work out because outside forces, external forces, just keep putting him down for. Because he's not funny, he's not viewed as being funny, he's viewed as a freak, he's viewed as an outcast. So like, and quite literally, like he dresses up as a clown in the beginning of the film, and I kind of like that contrast where it's just like, early on in the film, he's very kind of like he stands out, but near the end he fits in. We kind of realize that there are everyone like
and
there
the
are
contrast in that opening scene.
Right,
he's really the only bit of color
in that entire
scene.
Yeah, and like near the end, you realize like, hey, There are many people who have the same struggles, and that's why I kind of commented on like the whole scene with the therapist. She's like, I'm going through the same kind of struggle.
Right.
You're not the only one who's being like, kind of outcast.
Who's being screwed over.
And like that.
I guess the idea of the people who are screwing over these people is embodied by Thomas Wayne.
Right.
That's
the
idea.
So that kind of gets.
Wayne is kind of the symbol of if the Joker is the symbol of the poor in this movie, Thomas Wayne is almost certainly the symbol of the rich.
And it's interesting, they never explicitly make Thomas Wayne responsible for what's going on.
They never say it's his
like
fault.
To blame Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
But for all we know, and this is kind of what I like about the movie, they make you think on like you make up your own backstories for these characters a little bit. With Thomas Wayne, you don't know if he's trying.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, we only see Joker's perspective.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk.
Right.
Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily make him evil.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, and I think it's... And
obviously he takes care of his kid. Like, it's not like... We're not... This movie did a very good job of not making everything black and white.
Yeah.
You're seeing it from Joker's perspective. Yeah. But you also have to dig deeper and see, like, we are seeing it from his perspective. But there's lines and little hidden scenes in there that make you think, are we thinking this, or are we just thinking this because we're seeing it from his perspective?
Yeah.
Like, when he says that line about his mother, where he's like, she was crazy, you were beat as a kid, all these things, it's like, I want no part of this. And as... You're thinking of him as a jerk because you're in Arthur's shoes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you were in Thomas's shoes, you're like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, you're not...
Especially when you have an image and you're trying to get elected as mayor and everything else. It's...
Man, I keep thinking about the scene where he's being interviewed by Murray. It's so good. Yeah. Like
that is the standout scene in the movie for me personally.
Yeah, I want to rewatch that. Just take notice. Like it's just his acting is just so riveting. Yeah. I do want to comment. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to change the subject completely, but
I was just going to say, going on the top of the acting, even though, like, I think, noticeably, I even thought this at the beginning of the movie of Joaquin Phoenix's physical change for this film.
Yeah,
he looks like he's barely eaten anything. He's got bruises.
Yeah.
The dude looks in bad shape. And I said, while I personally disagree that you should do that for a film, props to him for being able to pull off that. Yeah. And I will say... on most of the actors' faces, even though this is really the Joaquin Phoenix show, Robert De Niro has it too, where if you just look on their face throughout the scene, it's not like it's not like the prequels where it just, okay, I'm angry now.
Yeah.
Like it slowly builds to the point where you can see it change on their face over a
And I'm
conversation.
glad you mentioned De Niro, because, you know, one of the things about De Niro is in this film he plays a late night talk show host. So he's putting
Which
on
I think
that
we all thought he was going to play Thomas Wayne.
for a brief moment. I
Yeah.
think we all did. But he's playing the stereotypical I'm the late night person.
Yeah.
I will laugh at anything. That I will make fun of anything and laugh at anything.
I felt like I was watching like a Stephen Colbert.
Honestly,
Right.
I thought he was meant to be Letterman. Is what I thought.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh, interesting.
And then we see as that tension is building in that scene right before you know he goes, but
He gets shot in the face.
yeah, before he gets shot, you see his like smile, and it's so slowly and subtly done. It's just
it's frowning.
it
Yeah.
becomes frowning. But
As
what's
Joker
interesting,
starts to smile too.
Yeah. if you're looking in the background, and this is so clever, I think in the way it was shot.
Yeah.
You know, the guy, the producer or whatever
like-
is
Yeah.
faded out. Like
Yeah.
he's
Out
out
of-
of focus
Yeah.
He's
in the
starting to
shot,
disappear.
but you see him like say,
Like cut it, get
Cut
out
it.
of here. Yeah.
and De Niro just denies it, but you see that regret start to fill in as that tension's
Yeah,
progressing,
right.
and he doesn't know what to do. And I think that such a great job by De
Because
by
like
De
I
Niro.
kind of mentioned, like that's a good point, because at the beginning of the scene it seems like De Niro definitely has control over what's going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
As the scene progresses, he starts to become more unsure as to what's going on.
Loses control.
He loses control, and
Yeah.
then ultimately Joker prevails, and they cut to the shot of like it's very abrupt, but he gets shot in the face, and it's shocking.
Yeah.
So it's
So good.
And I will I'm gonna go back to the sound that I mentioned. You can feel like
Yeah.
it's not like action movie toy guns where it's
Yeah.
just generic pop you hear in
Yeah.
all these movies. It's out of left field, and it just I don't know. I don't want to say desensitized, because everybody's like, oh, violence movies, everybody should
Yeah.
desensitize to
Yeah.
it now. If you're in like an MCU movie where things are flipping around and
Yeah.
explosions
Yeah.
going off, yeah, I would say that. In this movie, when the violence happens,
Oh,
it's
it does,
shocking,
it's
and you're
shocking.
still just
Yeah.
like, what just happened? Because
Yeah.
this is
It's not like
It's
mindless,
brutal.
like
Yeah.
I would say John Wick 3 almost bordered that like desensitized.
But at the same time, it's also you're going in for the stunts.
Yeah.
in John
Yeah.
Wick 3.
Yeah.
This you're
Yeah.
not going in for stunts.
yeah,
You're going.
right.
Yeah. It's-
yeah.
Do you want to get to your?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I get a paragraph.
Yeah. I could
Yeah,
do like 3 hours.
So I think I'm gonna be a little negative for a second.
That's fair.
I think my biggest problem is that the De Niro scene is excellent. I wouldn't change a thing about it, but I think we don't get to see enough of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker.
Yeah.
And when you said that you thought he embodied the Agent of Chaos, I could definitely see this Joker doing something like that. My problem with the movie is that I didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
And I was telling Caleb in the car, like I think that I don't have an issue with origin movies ending with the character becoming themselves. Like I don't have an issue with that as an ending. But if you do a Joker movie, I want to see.
Yeah.
Like what makes the Joker iconic is all of the stuff he does after he's lost his humanity, not
Yeah.
before. Like and so I walked away from this movie feeling like I wouldn't change anything about Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Like I wouldn't alter him in any way.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
But I still think that Heath Ledger stands on top of the of any pile that includes the Joker. Like I think that you don't get any better for me than the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight where
That
it's like
is
he's
the Joker.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that this movie there's a lot about it that I really like. Like I thought that the scene where he kills his friend right before he goes on the Murray show. I thought what was excellent about that was after he kills his friend, you have the guy who's standing in the background like, what?
Like,
why would you
whoa.
do that?
Yeah.
And he's like absolutely freaking out over what's happening, and you just see Phoenix just on the floor, like wheezing, like he's tired. He just killed a man, right? Like this is exhausting, and he's like in that moment, I thought he embodied the Joker a lot more, just because I was watching and I was terrified because I had no idea what he was gonna do.
Oh yeah,
and
I was terrified too.
And you know, I felt like in the scene, in the De Niro scene, I felt like there were only two outcomes. I thought either he was going to kill himself
or he
was going to kill De Niro.
Which
I think he went in with the intention of killing himself.
But then once De Niro started to anger him, then he was like, no.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think that was a genuine interpretation.
I do want to talk about the humor in the film. Some of the
I wasn't
moments.
expecting that.
I mean, it was directed by Todd Phillips, the person who did the Hangover movies. But I mean, like, it was bound to be a thing. But I do think when there were moments of humor, I think they were kind of effective. But like, it wasn't overbearing where it was just like, okay.
I would say
it wasn't like a Marvel movie where it's like,
really the only two comedy scenes I noticed is when he drops the gun in the hospital, and when the little person can't reach the lock on the door.
I also think there's one other one.
That felt
there's
more
one,
like
I
a typical. That
one.
played better into the terrifying Joker aspect more than it felt like a humorous moment.
Yeah.
The other humorous moment was when he kisses the other lady.
Oh
on the
yeah.
late night show, and she's like,
"Well, I think you and I are thinking the same one."
The one where he literally just walks into the door.
Oh no!
Okay, that was so out of place.
I kind of like that.
I understand.
But here's the thing: it's just because like
so weird.
it's just it speaks to how like disconnected his character is with like what's going on with around him and stuff. I mean, he was literally worried about getting caught. So like,
and his mother.
So like, it just like it made sense that he just like slammed right in. But like, it was a little out of place, and I was like, I didn't expect it, which might have made it like a little bit more effective. But yeah,
I also like the in terms of humor, I like the joke where he just goes, "I forgot to punch out." Punches the punch out. Like, I was like, yes.
That was good.
That was a funny.
I also
that was
did
my
think
favorite
when
line.
he's in these stand-up clubs and you're hearing the other stand-up comedians, some of the stuff they say is
that
actually
was
pretty
funny.
funny.
A lot of the jokes that De Niro makes, especially, are kind of funny. Like the one that got me was where he's like, where Joker is like, he says something about like, he keeps repeating this line about how his mom says like he was made to bring brightness and laughter to people, and De Niro goes, "So how's that going?"
See, like it's stuff like that where just like at the beginning, like it was just very humorous, but at the end you could tell that stuff was not making that stuff made Joker more and more frustrated, and ultimately shifting from him trying to like whatever kill himself to like just shooting.
I did notice the one scene that I thought was a bit forced, or I guess there's really two, and they're both towards the end in terms of fan service. When he turns around and kind of has the blood in his mouth after the car crash and creates the big smile with it. It was like, it was effective I did like it, but looking back on it, it's very much it was so famous with Heath Ledger. We got to do the big, like, scars, air quote, smile.
Yeah, it did feel like a kind of, like the Thor picks up Mjolnir kind of thing, where it's like he put the scars on his face.
When they cut back to Bruce standing in the alleyway with his parents on the ground there, I do like the way the shot is set up, but at the same time, it was too much of like, hey, he's gonna become Batman.
No. See, I felt the opposite.
Yeah,
I literally wanted Robert Pattinson to be in that room.
Well, you're talking about the interrogation scene. or
No.
In like the hospital where he is.
Yeah,
at the
that's
end.
that's what I meant. Like,
I literally wanted Robert Pattinson in that scene.
I'm not talking about that scene. I'm talking about when Bruce is the young Bruce is in the alley.
I agree with that, but I'm going to say one thing to that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to say it on the podcast because I wanted to look it up first.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure with every time we see Batman's parents die, and it's just Bruce standing there in front of his parents, we see rats in the background scurry off.
Super rats.
And we see super rats scurry off in the background in this one, and I was like, that was clever. Yeah. So I was like, even if that's not like a common thing in each shot, I'm pretty sure it's in definitely the Gotham TV show one.
It's in Gotham. It's at least I'm pretty sure it's in Batman Begins
with
too.
the rat Batman versus Superman. I can almost guarantee it is.
The beads are definitely in Batman versus Superman.
What is with the pearl necklace in these? Was that a thing in the comics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In the comics, he has his gun underneath
and like the
necklace, but it's on her neck. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty brutal.
But like
they did that in Batman
versus Superman. Frank Miller version.
I'm talking about the original run. I didn't know if that was a thing. Okay. Yeah.
A lot of Batman's canon has been
redone.
Yeah, redone.
Frank Miller, really.
Yeah, Frank Miller really has defined the most recent Batman canon.
I think overall the film was great. I have some issues with it. I don't think the script is perfect. I have some issues with it, and I do think that I have to say I agree with you that when they flash forward at the end and he's in the hospital, I so wanted it to be an interrogation and Batman being on the other side. Yeah. I would have been so happy.
What I really wanted was like I really wanted this to be like they reveal at the end that this was all a prequel to The Dark Knight, because then I could feel like, okay, at least I know where this is going and that he's going to get his just desserts in the future. Like I wanted that. I think I've told all of you at some point that I have kind of an issue with with like the glorification of villains in pop culture today. Like,
I mean, there's kids wearing Darth Vader T-shirts. It's kind of weird.
I don't necessarily mind Darth Vader because
Darth Vader literally murders an entire room of kids.
Yes,
that's true. No, Anakin does.
Okay, but he was knighted as Vader before that scene happened.
Oh, that's also true.
This is fair. I think that
Sorry, got a little.
I was like, don't test me on Star Wars.
I think that Darth Vader is. I think he is one of the most sort of like recognizable parts of Star Wars. Yeah. Like it's hard to wear a Luke Skywalker.
So we kind of talked about how this film wasn't trying to promote any kind of negative or malicious intentions or whatever. But I could definitely see how some people could view this as kind of a glorification of these acts. And like especially near the end.
Well, that's just to say I can't wait for Star Trek Picard. Anyways, continue.
What?
Sorry, this is all a weird.
No, I agree with you with you on that.
I mean, I agree, but
because when I was watching it, one of the things that I didn't like about this movie was that fear. Yeah, you know what I mean. I was like, I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure how the public's going to react to it.
Yeah, and I have to say, no idea. I ultimately, the film is, at least to me, not an endorsement but a warning.
It is. And
it felt like
that's how it's gonna that's how it can be. But I'm just saying there are some people I feel like are gonna glorify it and almost just idolize this kind of ideology.
And films are gonna be viewed or read differently by different people.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying that could be be an issue that's
I mean, you already have a lot of people complaining about this movie, and just based on the way the internet works, I think because we have people like being kind of over the top in their sort of alarm about this movie, I think we're going to see a backlash where you get more and more people being like, this movie was like the greatest thing ever. I think, Joker is one of my favorite characters. Like stuff like that. We're going to start seeing stuff like that just as a response to sort of media outlets saying what they will, and I think they're justified in saying whatever they want to say. But I think that just based on 2019 events, I think we're in for a little bit of a ride with this.
Yeah, I mean we're seeing it on its first Friday night. There's gonna be some stuff that comes out over the next couple weeks.
We've already had this stuff come out, and the movie hadn't even come out yet.
And I think ultimately the film it should be seen by anyone who's over the age of 18.
No,
I would say everybody, because there are some people who probably wouldn't be able to handle it. But if you are a film fan or curious about what the film has to say, I would say go see it, even if you're not a DC fan, because really, even though it's called Joker, there's no cinematic universe you need to have read up on. You don't need to have read the comics or prequels, sequels, remakes, reboots.
It's a cinema movie.
Yeah,
it is a cinema movie.
It's a movie made for Cannes. That's what it's made. It was a movie made for Cannes.
Yeah. It's WB's Oscar bait. Is what it really is.
But I wouldn't say it's entirely like preachy Oscar bait of, this film is a tour de force. You have to go see it in the cinema.
No, it's definitely like
the theater.
The theater.
You can feel the amount of like artistic vision in this movie that went into it.
Right.
Yeah, all that I want to be Scorsese vision.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, this was definitely
Todd
like
Phillips is the next Scorsese.
Yeah. This was definitely like Todd Phillips doing like a Scorsese tribute.
Yeah.
Like that's what it really felt like to me.
And that's cool to a certain extent, but I feel like it was very overbearing in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
But
much in kind of the way that I felt like in a more obvious way. He did this, but it kind of much in the way that like James Gunn did like a Western tribute for Guardians. Like this felt like Todd Phillips in a much more dramatic fashion doing a kind of like we're gonna do Scorsese with the Joker. And one of my biggest problems is that it doesn't feel like a Scorsese crime movie.
It's like it feels like it pulls from Scorsese films, but it's never. I don't feel like it is as like
I agree with that.
It's not like a. I don't know. I don't feel like it's a Scorsese film in terms of the themes.
It has De Niro though, so what can I really say?
Two more things I want to say.
It is a rise of kind of.
Of the two more things I want to say. First thing is, has anybody in here played Arkham Knight?
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay. The scene where he's in the comedy club in this movie reminds me of the scene in Arkham Knight when during the Joker hallucinations when he's where he's in there's like a game show and he's like step right up and all that. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
That's fair.
That, and I also wanted to say that the
Arkham games are definitely worth the play.
They are for sure. They are quintessential Batman.
Oh man.
And they were free for a little while on the Epic Games Store, but I know how people feel about that. I already forgot the other point I was going to make, creator. So I probably already made the point anyway. But I would say the
Happy 80th anniversary.
Happy 80th anniversary, Batman.
We have our Batman
Fortnite.
What?
Also Fortnite. Batman's in Fortnite.
Oh yeah, Batman's in Fortnite.
Oh wow.
Or is he still? I don't know.
Yeah, he's still in it. Well, you have to. Well,
it's the whole thing.
He's not viable anymore.
Yeah.
But you can have him, and basically, when I do play Fortnite with Batman, I don't use guns.
No, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Well, people use guns, and it makes me mad. I die all the time.
You're missing the point.
I die all the time, Brandon. But I only use batarangs only and grapplers and non-lethals.
Sounds very gamer. Batarangs only, everybody.
It's like Smash Bros. Like Fox only, Final Destination. It's Fortnite like grapplers only,
and that's actually a pretty good. They even have Gotham City in there still,
Interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's actually a pretty cool Gotham City. I'm not gonna lie, They even have the Monarch Theater in there.
Can we also say
No
how
line, though.
great it is? And I was like, because I knew if this was the case in this movie, there was going to be so much like Twitter backlash. I wasn't going to be able to handle it. That they don't have the thing that pushes Joker over the edge being rejected by Zazie Beetz' character. Because
that was
that was actually a complaint I have. I would have cut that entire through line from the movie if only to avoid that backlash.
I think the reason why it was in the movie as little as possible was because, one, I guess it's sort of reveal towards the end where he just made it all up in his head was part of the reason why they didn't go as full through with it. And I also think it was, if anything in this movie was being done to kind of circumvent Backlash, it was to not have that be the catalyst, because if it was, that would have, if anything, would have fueled violence because of this movie or the internet troll culture. It would have been that.
Well, I think with her character, I say still keep the next door neighbor character.
Yeah.
But I think you have to completely rewrite that character.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't a fan of her.
Yeah. She was just kind of used as
I liked her every time. Every time I felt like she was like a calming force. Mm-hmm. I kind of liked her because, good lord, this movie needed a calming force. Yeah. But
I think that's why I was getting. I think that's what I was getting at. Is like, you keep that character, and she was doing a great job acting in the part. It was more of just how it was portrayed and the writing on it. So if you just
it's more of it.
Switched up the writing and the type of character she is. Don't even make it a love interest, but like maybe a genuinely caring next door neighbor
it's
or
like an actual friend.
Yeah.
Her next door neighbor is Selena Kyle or something like that.
That would be on the nose. But
Well, it's like, oh hi, my name is Oswald Cobblepot, or like, okay, just like my name is Edward Digma.
I was not. I'm not going to lie.
Wait,
when they went
Jonah
to
Hill for
Arkham,
Edward
Jonah Hill's
it's like he opens the door and it's Jonah Hill.
When they went to Arkham,
it is Todd Phillips. Sorry,
I was genuinely looking for name tags.
Oh yeah. And I'm also glad that for example, when they were casting this, are they gonna make her Harley Quinn? I was like, God, please no.
I was afraid of that too. Yeah.
The can of worms that opens.
Yeah, that would have been a whole thing that I.
Yeah.
Okay. But final thoughts? Are we going into final thoughts?
Yes, final thoughts, because Ahmad needs to get his sleep.
Oh, don't put this on me.
Okay, I do too. I'll share the blame.
We've been going for an hour anyway, so whatever. But yeah, I will go first this time. I think that this movie, I wouldn't necessarily say definitely go see it. I think I give it kind of like an 8, like a 7.5, 8 out of 10 kind of thing. I think it's a perfectly good watch that has some issues. It felt like it ended on too much of a mixed message for me to endorse it. But I think it's worthwhile, and I'm still sad that I didn't see. I was really sad that it wasn't Michael Caine. If it had been Michael Caine playing Alfred, I would have been so happy.
Yeah,
because it would have it would have felt like a worthy addition to the Dark Knight universe without forcing the issue the way that a sequel would. So I think those are my final thoughts. Ahmad?
I think there's a lot of there's a lot of misconception with this film. I feel like people think that they need to know a lot about the DC comic or DC universe to be able to understand this film, and I don't think that's the case.
No. In fact, I think it would be enhanced by not knowing it.
It would be opposite, I would say.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear somebody's perspective who isn't as familiar.
Good luck finding someone though who doesn't know about Batman's origin story.
That's true. It's a good point, but. There are some people, and for those people, I would definitely recommend watching this just to go see, just a performance a performance that I haven't seen, anything like in a very long time. Yeah. That's kind of captured my attention. Joaquin Phoenix, definitely does an amazing job.
He definitely draws you in.
Yeah, he does try different things, and you could kind of see that obviously. Physically, and also just you can see it in his eyes in a lot of it. There's a shot of him at the end of the film in the police car, and you could see the chaos kind of ensuing throughout Gotham, and you just see it in his eyes, and he loves it. He loves all anarchy and chaos going around. But I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's it might not appeal to everybody, but if you want to watch something that's the story is okay. I think the screenplay has some issues.
Yeah, the screenplay is not.
And I think that I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I think Joaquin Phoenix definitely uplifts that, and without him, it probably wouldn't be the same.
I agree.
But yeah, I think go ahead and check it out. And yeah, don't be you don't have to know everything about the comics to realize how important this film might be.
And even if you've already heard all of the spoilers on here, the performance alone is worth still going to see, even if you know what happens. The plot is not why you go to see the movie.
Joaquin Phoenix is kind of why you see this movie.
It's unsettling, but it's good.
Yeah.
Caleb?
I would say it's a beautifully shot film. Excellent acting. Not my favorite film.
No.
Will I watch it again? Maybe once or twice. But I don't think this is a type of movie where I have to be in the exact mood to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
And
we kind of compared it to Logan a little bit.
Yeah.
But
honestly, that's probably the
Logan
best
is just a great movie, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's just sad to watch, but sad in a good way.
Yeah.
But with this movie, it maybe because this is kind of like a mod. I don't know exactly how I feel about this movie. Just out of the gate, you know, I'm going to have to sit on it a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a fairly solid film.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I don't like about it.
I get to go last. Okay, I get the last word. I think it's a really interesting film that fans of the Joker character will want to see if they go in with not the expectation of Heath Ledger looming over them.
Yes.
I think non-comic book fans would enjoy it, as I think cinema fans would. Please keep in mind.
Sorry. You said cinema fans, and I thought back to Martin Scorsese earlier today.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was just like, okay.
Yeah, we're all pretty bitter, it seems like.
I think, please, parents, if there are any parents listening who have smaller children, don't take your kid to this movie thinking, oh,
definitely,
they love Marvel movies or DC movies. This ain't Aquaman. This is
not Aquaman.
Not
this isn't Iron Man. Dad, don't do it.
But I think it's not for the faint of heart, but it's worth checking out for Joaquin Phoenix's performance alone.
Yeah.
The Academy is stupid if they don't at least nominate him for this.
I agree. But in terms of Best Picture,
I wouldn't nominate for Best Picture, but I would give him Best Actor.
The Academy's too scared to nominate this for Best Picture.
Oh no, yeah.
They would not dare do that.
No.
This movie has too much controversy surrounding it.
No, they're gonna play it safe. But
anyway,
that's a whole other topic.
Yes,
we'll talk about that
next week.
The overall, I'd say film is good. Have some issues with it overall. I'd probably give it. I would give it an 8.5. Probably. I think that extra 0.5 is for Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Yeah, I felt like
because 8 is to me it's like 7, 8 is kind of average.
Right.
Giving that extra 0.5 basically says, hey, this performance makes the film slightly above average. Or I guess not slightly. It's above average. It's not your typical, October release or of either being. We are true Sundance cinema, Academy cinema, and it's not cheesy, corny, garbage horror film. It's an interesting film. It's complicated, and ultimately, it is. I sound like I'm writing a paper. It's not an endorsement. It's a warning of things that could happen if things are not changed.
That we do need to worry
about.
Yeah. Especially in 2019.
It's not the film's fault. Go see the film for yourself and make your own decisions because it exists for people to make their own decisions.
The best message for this episode to end on is think for yourself.
Yeah. Think for yourself and
don't let media outlets decide what you think.
Don't let Twitter tell you what you should think about this movie either. I will basically just say if your only source of news and opinions comes from the blue check marks on Twitter, maybe reevaluate the way you make your judgments. I'll just leave it there before going on to a 10-minute soapbox.
Before we go another hour.
Yes.
So with that, I think this was a very productive a little special of the Lab Rats. Caleb, thank you for joining us. As always.
Twice in I think in roughly a 1 month period, not in the same month, but in a 1 month period.
Yeah. To be fair, this was a little bit impromptu.
Yeah.
We really were sort of on the fly this time.
This is not episode 30. It's a special.
Yes.
Your regularly scheduled program will likely return next week. If all things go well.
Yes.
Okay.
And Sawyer,
Okay.
will you
I
rattle off the social medias?
Well, even though I just mentioned I don't like Twitter, our Twitter is at Cascate, at CASTCATE on Twitter, because we could not get rid of our old handle from our old show days. But you can find us just by looking up the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. And we are at the Lab Rats Podcast on Instagram. Follow us. I don't really do anything on Instagram, but if you follow us on Twitter, you will get a tweet every time a new episode goes up. I have it set up to automatically go up. What else is there? Okay, now our shows. You can find our show on either Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Google, and Apple. And Google Podcasts, their whole thing's kind of complicated, but you can find it on whatever the Google platform is, and Apple Podcasts, whatever they're doing now. As well as wherever you're listening now.
Yes. Including whichever of those you listen to. So, and let us know, as always, if there is a platform that we are not on that you would like us to be on.
I'm always adding new platforms, as long as they don't cost money.
Yes, we don't want to pay things.
Yeah, we're making sure it's free for everybody else, because if we had to start paying for something, then comes along Patreon and everything else, and we're not gonna do that. So we're providing
we're
2
far
hours
away
of
from
free
that.
entertainment every week.
Every week.
For some people, that's too much.
College boys.
Some college boys.
We are for the future. We're considering possibly, because we understand that 2 hours is a little. It's a commitment.
It's a little bloated.
That's a lot. So we're probably gonna end up posting 2 hours, like 1 2 hour podcast, but splitting it up maybe into individual sections just to make it a little bit more specific.
You've heard it here first.
Yes, this is a conversation we are having.
So we would still put up the full 2 hour show, but we would likely split up either having the big 1 hour discussion, news, and 10-minute topics into separate segments and put them up
30 minutes, hour kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's a little bit more digestible.
Like if you're, in the car on the way to work and you're like, I want to hear about the new movie news, just put on the 30-minute segment or something like that. But for those of you who still enjoy the 2 hour show, we'll still put up the regular 2 hour program.
Exactly.
And I think, and a slight announcement for myself that no one else knows about, I will probably be doing, when these new blockbusters come out, if we don't have a chance to talk about them, for example, I don't think we'll be in school when The Rise of Skywalker comes out.
Oh no. Is he gonna be the first source Is he gonna be the first source of Lab Rats commentary on the
I
on the
might
Rise of
record a
Skywalker?
short thing coming out of the movie, just so I can say something about it.
Ahmad, I think the two of us need to match this. I don't know, man.
And if you guys do, I'll splice the three together and just do put a 30-minute special on this.
It's like
just it's heavily edited, so whenever Sawyer brings up a point, you'll see his point, and then it'll cut to Ezra, and then it'll just
I most likely end up being disappointed by the film. You're gonna be like, I like how they did, and just bleep the entire thing. I'm like, no.
I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah,
I
don't know. Yeah, completely forgot to mention this in the show too. But this was probably the last chance we had in 2019 of a good live-action blockbuster, because I know Frozen 2 is still coming out. But
I forgot about Frozen 2. We have to do another one of these for Frozen 2.
I would love to do that.
Do we have enough there for a 1 hour discussion?
Yes.
I'm gonna be the one sitting here being like, it's fine. And then you guys will be like, it was so amazing.
Let me tell you about the portrayal of Elsa in this film. It is completely different from the other.
Elsa is just the female Iceman from X-Men.
Hey, don't diss
She is Rogue and Iceman. Anyway, I can't wait to talk about how disappointed I am in Terminator next, and when it comes out on the show. Can't wait.
You know, if I'll make a deal with you right now. If you want to do this for Terminator, I will do this for Terminator if we do it with Frozen 2.
Deal. If I see, I'll probably end up seeing Frozen 2. So
okay. Cool.
I'm sure everybody and their mother's gonna see
Opening weekend. Let's do it, guys.
I'm down.
Are we gonna be here, or is that Thanksgiving break?
Oh frick!
Isn't Disney Plus come out the same weekend?
Yeah, because The Mandalorian comes out that weekend.
Oh, Lord.
The
That
Mandalorian
weekend is
might take
chaos.
precedent over because we're going to talk about The Mandalorian.
Right.
Everybody here, at least get a free trial to watch The Mandalorian. Okay. Anyway,
Yes.
this is not show discussion.
Ahmad needs to go to sleep. He's got
Like
a
I
production
said,
in
this
the morning.
episode is peak college boy. This
Yes,
is just,
exactly. We have our gushers. We have a random thing of
We
popcorn
have our
over
Batman
there.
cups.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
enough professional podcasts out there that we'll be the unprofessional Lab Rats podcast.
Go listen to LeVar Burton reads if you want to listen to a professional podcast.
We should do an episode of just recommending other entertainment YouTubers or
Yeah.
podcasters.
We
Good
should
idea.
just rep other internet people.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Also, if there's anybody who has a YouTube channel who would like to collaborate, let us know.
Yeah.
Or a podcast or something. Let us know. Casey, I don't know if you listen, but let us know.
It's just-
Weird.
just
So that only
random-
like two
random-
people are gonna get. Like, yeah.
Random.
People who are still like listening at this point.
I
feel
know.
like you-
Why are you still listening to the
Yeah.
show?
We should have said bye like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right.
This
With
has
that,
been the Joker special.
yes. Thank you for listening.
And we're not DC fanboys.
We're not.
We're not DC fanboys.
I
And
think-
we're not Marvel fanboys.
I'm more of a Marvel fan.
He's
Anyways,
saying
I like all sides equally.
Yeah, me
DC,
too.
Dark Horse, Image, all of them, Marvel. all of them.
IDW. Let's go. All right.
Bye.